There's the story that people tell, and then there's the truth that really matters. Welcome to the Growth Obsessed podcast, where we have real and raw conversations on leadership, business, and the relentless pursuit of growth. No fluff, no highlight reels, just the struggles, the setbacks, and most importantly, the lessons that build true success. I'm Ben Lang, and I sit down with the most driven entrepreneurs and leaders to uncover what really shapes them, the pain, the resilience, and the breakthroughs. So if you're here, you're not just looking for surface level motivation. You're here to be challenged, to grow. So let's get real. Let's get uncomfortable. This is the Growth Obsessed podcast. And don't forget to subscribe now. The conversation that you need might be the one that changes everything. So I want to welcome my guest today, Jaymie. Tell me a little bit about yourself, like your background. We met actually because obviously I have the Remax brokerage, you have the inspection company. And I think my wife reached out to you maybe to teach Con Ed.
Yeah, that's the truth. Ben, first of all, I want to say what an intro to your podcast, man. That is on point. If that doesn't get people fired up, I don't know what does. That's a good intro for our conversation. I'm super excited to talk with you. Yeah, Lisa and I met through a connector of people, right? In the real estate industry, everybody knows somebody. And when you know someone that's looking for a really deep conversation or a connection that's going to add great value, we were introduced to each other. So I got to come into your team meeting and teach some Con Ed to a phenomenal group of people that asked great questions, and we had really good conversation, and they got, continuing education credit out of it. It's really good.
I think the first time I saw you, I was like, this girl's really dynamic. I like, she's got kind of like this magnetic personality. She seems very dynamic. Seemed like you made a good first impression on me. I was like, man, I think she's looks like a great entrepreneur. She's got this entrepreneurial spirit. And I know you were talking about core values and things like that, which are very important to me as well. Tell me what did your entrepreneurial journey, what did that look like? When did it start? How did you get into it? Were you always an entrepreneur? Did you start off W-2? Tell me about that.
Wow, it's been a long time since someone's asked me that question. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm 46 years old and I've owned this home inspection company for 12 years now. Since 2013. I became a home inspector in 2010. My husband and I lived in New Orleans for about 7 years. And I met a home inspector. And so I was their employee for a couple of years. And then I decided I want to do this on my own and I want to go back home to the Midwest. And so that's when I started my own. Entrepreneurship started probably right after college. And it was that I couldn't find the job I wanted. So I created it, I guess. No, I really did. So not I guess. So there was a company I wanted to work for in New York City, and they didn't have the position that I knew that my gifts, talents, and abilities could fill. So I wrote them a letter and I was like, hey, I really want to work for you, but I only want to do these things. And they said, well, we don't have anybody that does those things. Come on aboard. And I thought, that was so easy, but I don't necessarily know we could do that everywhere. I think that God just timed it, in such a way that I would be blessed and bless this company that I worked for. So I was there for a couple of years, and it allowed me to move to the Big Apple and kind of be on my own after college. And I got that bug or that spark in me that allowed me to have the guts to carve my own path, And so I got hooked. And a few years after that, I realized I really want to be back in the Midwest. I stayed in New York City and got my master's degree. I went to NYU and got my degree in speech and interpersonal communication. So what an amazing place I went to Ferris State and got my bachelor's in facility management. So that's where architecture and buildings and all that came from. So when I was in New York City, I was in this beautiful melting pot of people. And after college, you go to this city like Manhattan and no one really wants to hang out with you after work. No one really says hi to you on the street. It's just everyone's kind, but they're focused and they got their own agenda and you're not on it. It wasn't, you didn't really go out to coffee with people unless I don't know. So anyway, I said, I need to be somewhere where I can move forward in my life, move forward in my education to get that raise or that better paying job or whatever. And also the last place that I remembered I was comfortable was on a college campus where everyone is literally in the same boat. We're all going there for the same reasons, to get more educated and to be with people that are like-minded, right? So I went to NYU and that's where I got my master's degree. Interpersonal communication was phenomenal because I got to learn about how people wear different masks depending on the situation that they're in. And if you can read people or know how to communicate with people from where they are, you can do anything. And it was an incredible few years that I was kind of on that island, if you will, to go through that process because I thought, well, gosh, I can create anything. I just got this job that I told them that they needed me to do. And then I went and got my master's degree in this thing that's like teaching people how to treat themselves and how to treat you and how to move forward before this whole empowerment and mindset thing was even, all the talk. I just felt so empowered. So when I came back to the Midwest after graduation, I got that bug to start creating things. Yeah.
That's a good story. My daughter, she just turned 14, and I think it was maybe a few months ago. I was like, okay, there's three things in life that I really want you to hone in on, and one of them was, what really moves people, what makes people tick, what moves people. Like my degree's in psychology, so I've been in sales my whole life. So I'll totally geek out on mixing psychology with influence or sales or persuasion or whatever you want to call it. And the nuances of it all. So I think it's really important. Like, I feel like any job that you take in this entire world, there's a bit of sales involved in it, right?
Selling yourself, selling the thing, selling to your team an idea. Yeah, for sure.
So you moved from New York back here, right?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you moved here and you're like, okay, I'm going to open an inspection company. Was that it? Is that how it went?
No, oh God, no. The
Okay.
laws allowed me to travel all over the United States. I think I had 16 addresses before we finally settled down here in New Baltimore, Michigan.
Okay. Got it. Got it. Okay.
So I graduated from NYU, came back here to live near my boyfriend, who's now my husband of 12 years. And we could not find a job to save our life in Michigan because it was '06. So we were almost there to the '08, the big three car companies. And when people can't be employed, they can't spend money. And I was in construction and oh my goodness. That was my job in New York City, was construction related. So I have this degree and it's crazy student loan. And I've got this boyfriend who's like crazy smart, wants to be a fireman. So we find jobs in New Orleans because Hurricane Katrina just happened and we both could find work like immediately. So we moved all the way back down to New Orleans and we lived there for about 7 years. And I got the same kind of job I had when I worked in New York City and a little higher paying. That was nice. And there was so much construction going on there because Hurricane Katrina had hit 1 year prior to us moving down there. Brandon got a job as a fireman, paramedic. So he was in like his wheelhouse. And a few years in, I met Jesus, which was amazing.
Mhm.
I always say like he flipped my world right side up, right? And I knew the angst that I had always had to connect with people. And I finally understood because that's literally what we were created to do, right? So, so then I understood it more and more. And then while we were there, Brandon and I revisited the idea of entrepreneurship. Like, what would that look like? Not to create a job for ourselves in someone else's company, but what if we came up with our own company? So, our very first business was a photo booth company, and
Okay.
it was in 2010, I believe. And it was the same year that I met the Lord and we got married. And it was the same year that I became an employee home inspector. We said, all right, let's take this tax return that we have, build a photo booth in our living room and rent it out at people's like weddings and parties. Cause in New Orleans, you've got, a party because it's the second Tuesday of the month. Like just come up with a reason and they'll have a party, right? And everyone was hiring photo booth companies at the time. It was very, very new. So we called it Big Easy Photo Booth. It still exists. We sold it before we moved back to the Midwest. And it was phenomenal. And we thought, well, if we're going to take a stab at this entrepreneurship for real, let's just start with this, a tax return. There was no money out of our bank account, right? And we're going to build this thing and we'll hire his brother. We hired his brother to come and help us. And it like took off like crazy. So a year later, we ended up having 3 photo booths I think 8 employees and a full-time manager. And it was just supposed to be a weekend gig, right? And it was phenomenal. So that was a really good start to like owning our own legitimate business. We got to really build relationships with people in and around New Orleans, let the Lord guide us for the first time ever. I got to really understand why we're given gifts, talents, and abilities and really use them for other people. And then go to all these, wedding venues and event spaces that we probably never would have been in New Orleans. So we were kind of like tourists because of our business that we had. And we got to connect with some really, really awesome people and then learn how to do business ownership, learn how to have some boundaries around it as we're creating something. I remember we went to visit a wedding venue one time and it was this woman who owned a plantation and she just turned it into an event space. And we went and talked with her one time and she said, "First, I want to tell you," her name was Jill. "First, I want to tell you guys, I went to your website before you came today just to kind of learn a little bit more about you. And you have no hours. And you need to put hours on there because you have to teach people how to treat you." And I thought, okay, you're right. Okay, thanks. Note taken. And so I always remember Miss Jill because she taught me that as we're going to go down this road of entrepreneurship, we're going to be treated however we let people treat us. And we have to put up these boundaries. And boundaries aren't necessarily to keep bad things out, it's to keep the good in. Like, put this boundary around what you know is good and true about your life and what you want, your goals, and put a boundary around that. And I will never forget, Miss Jill, the first piece of advice that I got.
That honestly, that was really good advice to learn early. I think it took me a long time to learn the boundaries, longer than it should have,
And then you
right?
let them down, and then you have to learn to put them up again. It's a cycle. Yep.
Yeah. I wanna mention something real quick. I come across so like, I've had extremely successful people on here, and there's always these common threads all the time, and faith. Faith is a very common thread with the most dynamic, the most successful entrepreneurs that I've met in my life. Faith is a huge part of their life, and they incorporate it into daily life. First, I wanna say that. Secondly, okay, so you got the tax return, you built the photo booth. I wanna know, like, what did it take to? Because was there marketing? Was there networking? How did you build it to 8 employees down the road?
Ooh. Well,
What was
so
that grind? What did that grind look like?
it was for real boots to the ground, blood, sweat, and tears grind because social media wasn't a thing. I think I had a MySpace page.
Yeah, of course they do.
So social media didn't exist. It was literally walk into the hotel, ask for the event manager or the catering manager and introduce yourself. Like, it was a vulnerable, wonderful, because I love that. When you're passionate enough about something, you can sell it to anybody, right? You just speak the speak. And so it was boots to the ground. So it was a lot of gas, it was a lot of miles, driving all over, finding out which spaces work for you because you're not necessarily in alignment with everybody that would possibly hire you, right? We had to fire a few brides. Like, we're not gonna be the one that you're gonna you know? We do that now with realtor. Anyway, so it was a long it was a no, it wasn't a long road. It was immediate because we were doing something that was in alignment with what we wanted. But we quickly realized what would build the business, and it was literally walking into the spaces that would use our service and asking for it, and then showing them what we had that was different. We had a little scrapbook that we made for brides. We brought a ton of props on board. We let the bride choose their color scheme if they wanted the background a different color. We had parameters that we showed our USPs, if you will, those unique service propositions. Yeah, the unique selling points. We that's what we had to have really good verbiage around to say, hey, this is why we're awesome. This is why you're gonna love it. You're gonna pay for what you get, and also these are our hours. So it was hard, but it was so good. And there was ease in it because we didn't go through doors that were closed. We went through all the open doors and just asked for it and we got it. It was cool.
So what I heard, and you beat me to the punch on the USPs. This is what I was gonna say before you ruined it. I heard relationship building. I heard unique selling proposition or unique value proposition. What makes you different from everybody else?
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the quote, the riches are in the niches, right? And so you have to have the niche. You have to have something that differentiates yourself from the person's right next to you, right? I mean, I made my career, I had the best years in my entire real estate career based on short sales. I became the short sale guy back then, what the same time you were talking about, 08, 09, 10, 11. And it's true. Like if people know when you cut and you become an expert at one thing, people trust you in that field, right? And you gain that trust a lot faster with people. Like going in, here's what I want to know. Okay, so how many places did you visit per week walking through the door?
Oh gosh. Well, because I had a day job while I was a home inspector for a team. I was an employee. And because I had that day job, I could only go into venues at night or on the weekends. So I would say less than 10 a week. And almost, I would say more than 50% of them would end up using us because I believe we were the first photo booth company that lived and operated inside greater New Orleans.
Okay.
And so it was really easy for them to be interested because they hadn't had other options. It was a new concept, like it was a new idea. So some of them needed some time, or I had to touch them many times before they finally said yes, because they needed to think about it and understand, like, what is it that they would be selling to the people that came in to have an event in their space. And
What was
then,
tell me the person that you had that took the longest time to court them and how many visits it took?
gosh, well, I would be making it up if I said a number, Ben, because I know now, because I know better, because this was 15 years ago, right? When I started that company. I know now that you need at least like 8 touches before someone will say yes to you. And a touch meaning an email, a text
Mhm.
message, a
Yeah.
face to face visit, a letter taped to their door because they weren't there. They needed to like see your face or your logo that many times before they'll actually say, "Oh yeah, that one girl or that one company." And so probably that many times for our hardest. Or even that many times hearing that someone else used you for their wedding or for their event and then they told someone that said, "Oh yeah, they've been trying to get a hold of us." And then they finally said yes. I would say that's probably pretty true.
So let me ask you this because I agree with the 7 to 8 back in 2000, what year was it? 2013?
10.
10. 2010, I agree with 7 to 8. I believe now, based on current research, because we're being sold so many times through TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and everywhere else that we look, I believe it's up to 25 or 26 in that range for touches before people start to like, oh, I know who that is. Do you have you heard that as well? Do you agree with that? What do you think?
I agree with that because I'm living it. So yes, I absolutely agree with I absolutely agree with that. Yeah,
So
every time we expand our home inspection company into a new market, of course, the lawnmower guy decided to mow right now. So you might hear him. But every time we try to expand into a new market, like our company started and grew exponentially in Macomb County, and then it went into Oakland County. So as we start going further and further, our temp pecs, that's exactly what we find is that it takes for us probably takes fewer stops face to face with them because they've got so many options to like stalk us, if you will. Otherwise, so many agents in their board of realtors that they can ask, or so many agents in their office, or there's so many like mastermind groups now. And we try and be prevalent in all of them. So we knock on their door and they see us for the first time, but then everywhere they're going, this is our goal, right? Everywhere they're going, or they go onto social media, and we don't pay for ads. I love word of mouth. I want you to know, like, and trust me because you do, not because you see the word sponsored above our logo. You know what I mean? Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's just not the route that we've wanted to take. So if you see us everywhere, then you realize, oh, they are who they say they are. Sure, I'll give them a shot. And I believe that because we've seen that in the last decent amount of time, That's very true. I think the fewer touches because they can look you up very easily and see, like, do you have the same energy online as you do in person? Yeah.
Yeah, very true. Very true. And you're an incredibly competitive space. I feel like it's very saturated. So tell me, as the owner of the company, how much time do you spend on cultivating new relationships and new business? What's the like a percentage?
Well, I am sometimes in the field being a home inspector. It's very important to me that we hire inspectors based on their alignment with our values and that they are going to be who we say we are when they are with agents as well. So, or with our clients especially. So, sometimes I am still in the field performing home inspections. That limits my time out there face to face, knocking on office doors or going to sales meetings or what have you. I would say 50% of my time personally right now is out there, boots to the ground, building relationships. The season of life that I'm in, I've got three very tiny children and a husband that also runs a business and a team that I want to pour into and really cultivate the culture that we say we are. So the time that I spend out at like happy hour is few and far between because my happy hour is picking my kids up from school and doing homework and having a good dinner at the table. So all that has to happen during the day. So we find out when are agents most likely in the office. Well, it's usually on that morning that they're all there for their sales meeting. Or what is the event during the day that actually is valuable enough for me to go to and build new relationships with, and then who are the realtors that I want to build a relationship with? Because I love a good raving fan who's going to talk about Elevate Inspection Group all day long and tell everybody that I love those agents. And I also love an agent that has a good sized team that produces a lot, that understands like high level thinking and a positive mindset and pouring into the other agents on their team because that's completely in alignment with how we run Elevate. And we want to partner with those kind of teams. So we're also really specific about where we spend our time because I want to just target, I want to target exactly that, exactly who we want to come on board to do business with Elevate. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so what I heard is that you've through your core values and how you operate in your belief system, you've identified your avatar client, and then you've taken that avatar and you've purposely tried to seek them out so that you're doing business with like-minded people because business, let's face it, when we do business with like-minded people, it's so much more fun. I think a lot of people out there, including at least with realtors, I see it all the time. They're just like, take anyone, take anyone, take anyone. I noticed early on in my career that every time I went to a listing appointment where they were a dog owner, their dog and I got along so well that they trusted me. I just kind of felt like dog owners or people that are dog lovers are like my kind of people. They're more compassionate, they're more empathetic. They're just people that I usually, not all the time. There's always exceptions to rules, but that's why I promote that I donate to heavily, very heavily to dog rescues. And that's why, I would donate either way, but that's why I actually put it out there so that I can attract like-minded people. That's one of the ways that I attract my avatar. So I very much understand what you're saying. It's no fun to do business with people that are the complete opposite or have a different belief system or a different core values
Yeah.
set of core values, especially when the set of core values is completely different. It's not fun for either party. So I think it's really important to hone in on your avatar and seek them out.
Yep, it's brilliant. One of the things that I I've actually changed my avatar over and over because in the beginning when you're building a business, there's this season where you are just hustling. It means food on the table. It means tuition for kids. Like that's so I had to hustle and I am okay with doing hard things. I can start a business from the ground up. When we moved here to Detroit, when I came home to be a home inspector, then I was an employee for a couple of years and we moved to South Bend, Indiana. That's where I was born and raised. And I love South Bend. University of Notre Dame is right in the middle of it. And I knew in growing up there, I knew a lot of people that I had grew up with were now in business. There were a few that were real estate agents. So I knew moving to South Bend and starting my own home inspection company, I knew I would have a few relationships that I could that I could go off of, a few lenders, a few title people that I had already known. So that was good. It was hard. It was still very hard, mostly because I was 7 months pregnant with my first kid. So I'm walking into real estate offices, with this basketball belly, and I'm like, I'm a great home inspector, I promise. And right then I was hustling, and that was my interest. That was everything that I poured into. That was my hobby. I didn't have much else to talk about outside of the business that I sold in New Orleans, the fact that I had been a home inspector for 3-ish years, the fact that I had my first kiddo coming and I was from South Bend. Those were the interesting things about me that I could think of, right? So as I'm like hustling, door knocking, I know how to build these relationships because I had done it with my previous business. I was able to go into those offices and do that. I built a phenomenal business in Indiana. I built a great business in Indiana. I was able to sell that in order to move here to Metro Detroit. I love Brandon and I really loved the melting pot of people in Southeast Michigan. It felt like New York City. It felt like New Orleans. And it also gave us more opportunity to grow a bigger business because the population density was bigger than South Bend, Indiana, frankly. So love family, loved the business, loved that it was practice for starting like a real estate based company, home inspection. Loved that I got to sell that and then move to Metro Detroit and start over. So being here, we've only been here since 2016, 2017. And it was the same thing. I had to start over. So it was that like grit and grind. That was my hobby. That was the only thing I had to talk about. And to be honest, Ben, for years, probably until 2021, when my third cutie was born, I also thought that those were my friends. So you want to get into some deep stuff here. I was so very deep into building a home inspection company that I would do the inspections. I had team members. I had home inspectors that I had hired and trained. And I think at our most, we had 5 home inspectors. And I was still doing a ton of home inspections, 3, sometimes 4 a day in like that height of COVID. And I didn't know what burnout was. I didn't know what anxiety was. So we're turning a corner here, right? I didn't know what that was. I'd never felt it before. I did hard things. I built things. It was fine. I did the hard work, right? But now I had, 2 kids and another one on the way, and a husband that now had a business outside of home inspection, and I was building these relationships. And so I was still going to all the events. I was still doing drop off and pick up at school. I was still getting the babysitter. I was still doing the home inspections. I was still training the guys. I was still doing the accounting and the payroll, and I wasn't doing any of it really well, right? And I thought that all of the real estate agents that I had built relationships with were also my friends. Like, oh, maybe this is how you make friends as an adult. They're just in the same industry that you're in. So I forgot even how to make grown-up friendships. I hope that resonates with someone. Like as an adult, they don't teach you like how to make friends. Because I didn't live anywhere near my childhood friends. I didn't even live anywhere near my college friends. Like here we are in Metro Detroit, which is where my husband was from. It's great. It's like we know some people. But I thought that everyone in real estate was my friend. I'm friends with some. Yeah, you're my friend. But in 2020, when I'm doing all of these home inspections, still hustling the only way I know how to build a business, I hit a wall. Actually, I hit a planter. I hit a concrete planter. I was at a home inspection for one of our top agents. He was buying the house for him and his family. Zach Abuna is his name. And I was doing a home inspection for him and his family. And I was outside, marking all the things in the phone and looking at the siding and all. And I'm like, oh, that mulch is like sloped down toward his house. So instead of clicking the button that says, slope it away, I just went down there on my hands and knees and I was like fixing the mulch, like fixing the garden. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Yep.
And I stood up and I knocked my head on something and it just brought me back down to my knees. And I probably stayed there on my hands and knees for 30 seconds. Like it felt like a long time. 30 seconds can be a long time, right? And I get up and I'm like, blah, blah, blah. And I feel this blood dripping down my head. I knocked my head into a concrete planter under a window because I was just going too fast for too long, thinking about too many things all at the same time. And I literally hit a wall. No, I hit a planter. And so I go in and I didn't tell anybody. I don't know if I had a concussion. I don't know. Because I didn't know what this felt like. I'd never done this before. This like tired thing. So I go in, I finish the home inspection. At once, his mother was there and she's like, are you okay? I was like, oh, I got a little spooked. And I like wipe the blood back into my ponytail, go hard. Don't let him know that you have a point of weakness. And so I finished this home inspection and I come home and my husband's like, you need stitches. And so we go get like 4 or 6 stitches or whatever it was. And that was in 20, I think it was in 2020. And I'm, probably pregnant with Eve. And that I always say that like the Lord allows me to hit my head. That's how he patiently waits for me to like sit and listen to his voice again, because it's happened 3 other times as well. This like this this like point in my life where it's too much at the same time that he never asked me to do. I just keep piling things on and I have to sit and recalibrate. And I would say that was a super pivotal moment in my life where I was like, okay, I am a good business owner and I'm a good leader to my team. And I'm a great mom and a good wife, I think, and all those things, And I don't need to be doing this so hard for so long and to keep piling these things on my own plate that are probably, to be honest, getting done mediocre. To hire other people to do those things more than mediocre is awesome. So there's books like Who, Not How. Like, not how can I do this better? It's who can do this better? There's a book that I recently listened to called Founder and the Force Multiplier. Well, you've got this vision for what your business needs to look like and this vision for the hustle. And also, somebody can multiply that for you really well at a super high level. So it's like allowing yourself to really change the whole, like, flip the script and say, okay, this is not the like, my job is not also my social life. I really need a hobby outside of door knocking, And then my family really needs me. And this thing I built for my team still needs me. So I had to like really refocus everything. So I took about 2 years out of the field to really recalibrate and allow God to do some work in me to say, this is, yeah, I created you to hustle hard. I created you to do hard things. You're great at this. You know your gifts, talents, and abilities. But like you gotta let some people in your circle. You gotta train others to do some of these things. You gotta let go. You gotta let go of some of the load. So that's been fun. That's
I
hard.
can totally relate to that. I mean, everyone knows I'm a recovering addict. So when I do something, it's either 0% or it's 100%. There's no 70%. There's no 60% for me. So like I'm like just type A driver personality. So like I'll just go, 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 like 85-hour week. And my wife is like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, it's almost like for me, I don't know if it was for you, but almost like an identity thing where it was like
100%.
the winning and the accolades and everything was like starting to become a part of my identity, which I think it becomes very dangerous. It's a very dangerous thing when you start to your identity of who you are to how much you win in business. It's a very dark path to go down. There's something else that you said was listening. I'm going to be 48 in like 2 days, and it's taken me like my whole life to I've had a million conversations with God where I'm talking, talking, talking. It's taken me a really long time to actually shut up and listen. Tell me a little bit about that. Have you struggled with that as well?
All the time. I think it's cyclical. I just had coffee with a friend, Emily Jacobs, this morning, and we were talking about how God allows us to just walk through whatever door we feel like we need to walk through. And I related it to like grabbing the baton from him. I really do feel like I am disciplined most of the time to really talk with God about what and have my eyes open and my ears open to that straight and narrow path that I ask him to keep me on, right? And then when we get to a point, he and I, when we get to a point where he's like, I got this for you, I'm like, awesome, God, thanks. And I grab the baton and I'm like, I got this. And I go. And he's like, wait a minute. Wait, that's not where we're going. We're going this way, but you didn't take me with you. So you just grabbed the baton and you went this way because you thought it was going to look like this. And that's not really how it's supposed to go. And now you're burnt out. And now you're searching for my voice again when really we were going to go this way, but you took it from me. And so I feel like that probably happens to me once a year.
I love that analogy. That's a great analogy. Uh,
Thanks.
that's
Yeah,
really
pass the
good.
baton. And I don't he never gave it to me. He was like, "This is our journey. We're doing this together, and I'll take you into those awesome places. I'll take you to the mountaintop, and I'll be with you in the valley, but, like, you can't. It's your decision to leave like, presence. He doesn't leave you ever, but, like, it's your decision to just take it and stop talking to him about the next step. And that's a real thing. I think so often people talk about their faith or people that even just don't have a relationship with Jesus. I want you to. So like let's talk about it. But I think that a lot of times it's so fluffy. People talk about it like it's so fluffy. God has good work for you to do, Ben. God has good work for me to do. And I need to have so much excitement and so much confidence in what that is going to be that I got to be like, all right, Lord, what are we doing today? What am I doing with my kids? What am I doing in my marriage? What am I doing with my business? Like what avenue are we going down? I got these meetings set up. I got these home inspections set up. I got this awesome podcast that I'm on. Tell me when you want me to say that thing, or tell me, but you got to keep him close. And it's not fluffy. It's like the real deal. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the real deal. Yeah.
totally agree.
Lots of that sometimes.
I'm going to shift gears a little bit. I want to know, because I like to talk about failures on this show. I like to talk about failures, honestly, more than the wins, because I think the failures are way more important. What's a failure that absolutely shattered you, but ultimately shaped the person that you are today?
What's good? I think probably that whole season of my life. Because that was my first time as an adult that I think I realized I allowed myself to get burnt out because of the identity I took on myself. I'm the happy girl. I'm the sparky one that beep bops around home inspection or goes to the event and brings the light. That I had to be that way all the time, and that was truly like what I identified myself as. And then when I got burnt out and I didn't know what it was, and when I stopped going to any event ever, or stopped walking into any office because I was like, this is not who I am. I'm just going to stop everything. It was a disservice to my team. It was a disservice to my family. It was a disservice to like who I'm created to be because I wasn't using any of my gifts, talents, or abilities. And I became a person that didn't speak up for myself anymore. So yes, I am filled with joy, and yes, I am filled with light. That's just like, you ever have anyone ask you like what your superpower is?
Yeah.
That's my superpower. I know that. I know that about myself. And that's exciting. Hold on to that. Like if you know things about yourself that are good, you hold on to those and you tell people. That's okay. That's not like gloating in a bad way. That's not. So I know that I have this like spark, this like light, this joy. And I love it. So I wanna have that posture when I walk into a room because that's how people are gonna notice like Jesus through you anyway. So the hard, awful thing that happened was like I let go of that. Cause I'm like, screw this, Lord. If you're gonna allow me, because it's his fault. If you're gonna allow me to get burnt out and I wasn't doing good service to my team anymore. So like I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't want to do payroll. I didn't want to train my new home inspectors. I didn't want to hire anyone anymore. I didn't want to do the books. I no longer answered the phone because Leah started running the show right before that. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to go into offices. I didn't want to have these like fake service relationships that I felt like I was building. And then I was all poor me, victim mentality. No one's checking on me. These realtors aren't really my friends. Even my friends at church, like they didn't call me. I had one friend that called me all the time, but they didn't call me and check on me. It was like such this victim, this deep, ugly, dark. And I was like, and that probably went on for about 2 years. I gave someone authority in my company that was toxic, and I did not even know that he was toxic. And I let him do all the things. I let him do operations. I let him lead our team. I let him be the lead home inspector. I let him take over payroll. Like any owner, that's the last thing that you hand over is like payroll and finances. I gave him everything. And all of that was like a huge downturn for my household, for my marriage, for our company. I'm half the size now because I allowed some really awful things to happen because I was doing this for so long because I didn't want to do it. I was like, I don't want. Isn't that
What
terrible? Oh,
woe is me. Woe is
it
me.
was me. And then so many of the people that I tried to surround myself with, my best friend Jen, she just looked at me and she would like smile and nod for years. She would just smile and nod because she knew better. But she was just letting me pout. And then eventually I think I realized I was talking to God one time in church in a service and we were talking about sin. What's your sin? What's your sin? And I was like, well, I don't steal and I don't, I'm like angry about it. I don't sin. I'm not unfaithful to my husband. I don't, I'm thinking of these like terrible, I don't beat my kids. Like I'm thinking of these like, just like these awful like internal things. I'm like, what is my sin, Lord? I'm like so angry. I'm like, this is awful. And this is like last year. This is not that long ago. I'm like, what is my sin? Why is everything around me awful? Woe is me. I'm so bad. My victim mentality. Why me? Very Job like, right? Well, Job never did that, but very like, "Oh, this is awful and deep and dark. And no one's responsible. Like, I'm not responsible for any of this. Surely this is an outside thing. What is my sin? What is my sin?" And he said, It's as clear as day, Ben. And he said, "This is because you're holding on to everything I've given you as if I don't have any other gift for you. That's my sin. I was holding on to this like identity where I thought I was supposed to be like joyful everywhere I went, and I couldn't be real or honest, and I couldn't be vulnerable because real estate agents would think I was weak, and then I wouldn't have good business. And God's like, your business isn't good right now. How's that going for you? You know?" And then he said, "You think this is the only business I will ever give you? You think this is the only platform I will ever give you? That's your sin. You're holding on to something as if I can't do better with it. Or you're holding on to this thing as if I don't have something else awesome for you. Let it go." And that got me out of it.
Like next day, you just woke up and changed everything around?
Kind of.
It couldn't have been that simple. Tell me more
No,
about that.
it was a journey, Ben. It was like a 2+ year journey to even understand, like at that point, because it was 2 years where nobody in the real estate industry saw me at any event. I would go to events and they'd be like, "Where have you been?" Well, like ask me, "Where have you been? We miss you." Anyway, but it was books that like my husband would force me to listen to. Change your mindset. Like give other people things. You're not the only one that's great at this thing. It was my team that was patient with me. It was realizing who was toxic. One of my inspectors, he embezzled like 10+ thousand dollars, stole everything, and then started his own company. We had another family member that like was an inspector for us. He started his own gig while we were like on vacation. Like all these things happened during this time where I was like, in order to get out of this mentally, like in order to get back into alignment with who I am and why in the world I started this in the first place, we got to start from scratch. So like Brandon and I cut people from our team. We like let them go. You don't want to be here, you're not here. Or like had some really difficult conversations to say like this is not working out. We're starting over. We're the good eggs in the basket. We're sitting down and saying, "All right, what is our mission here? What is our vision for what we're doing? And are you on the bus? Like, do you even want to go in the same direction as I do?" And that got us to a team of 4 last year about this time. And we got to start from a really good place. And then
Was it
when
the
that
mission?
happened, what's
Was it
that?
the mission? Was it the mission? Like reinventing your mission? Was that a big part? Would you say?
It was a huge part. So we reached out to a coach. My husband has had a coach for years, and we reached out to him, and he was like, he took the 4 or 5 of us that we had at that point and sat us in a room, and he says, "All right." And he took us through this whole exercise. What are some words that you think of when you like write down 20 words that you think of that are very important to you and your like personal values? And he was like, the next step, write down 20 words that explain like what it is that you want to do in the future through like you as a person. Like what are some things that you want to accomplish? Some like visionary type words. And then we all had our own. And then he was like, "All right, put all those on the wall. What are some of the common words that you guys have?" And we're like, "Oh, well, empowerment, that's a good word. And education, that's a good word." And so we all had similar words. And we took those words and we created our mission, vision, values, and the culture of our team with all those words. It was really incredible. And then we were all like, "Oh, well, since we're on board with this all together, we created this together. Let's go do that. Like, let's go be who we say we are in this little thing that we do called home inspection." It's so funny. But if we're going to choose to wake up and do this every day and that's how we feed our families, then let's be on board, man, and do this at a really high level. And so our mission is to really go out there and elevate the inspection industry through exceptional customer experience and relationships with home partners. That's a big deal. So everything that we do now, everything that I do that I say yes to has to be my best yes, because that has to be true. And it's allowed us to really recalibrate. So me, asking God, "What's my sin?" And he's like, "You won't let go of this. I have more gifts for you." That wasn't an overnight thing, but that was the last straw where I was like, "Oh, snap. All this work that I've been putting into like getting my mind right and getting our team right. That too, I got to hand this to you because there's more. There's more."
Yeah, so 2 years. I mean, that's a pretty long time. There's a couple. Let me get your thoughts on this. There's a couple things that I think hold true for people. Have you ever heard of the red car theory?
Maybe you get a
Yeah.
red car and you see red cars everywhere.
Yeah, you see red cars everywhere. So I think when people are in that negativity and living in that negativity, like positive things come their way and they can't even see them. They're so focused on the red car, right? They're so focused on the negative things because, again, my degree is in psychology. Like the ego, the human mind is crazy. The ego, it has to be right. Like its job is to be right. all the time, right? So you tell yourself, woe is me, life sucks, blah, 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 blah. It needs to be right. So then it's constantly out there looking for things to make it right. Right. And then it's like this vicious circle. So you only see the negative. You're not even looking for anything positive. And I think it's so hard for people to break it. I personally think I'm a true believer that you are basically the summation of the books that you read and the people that you spend the most time with. Right. So I think it's your inner circle and your books that are in your or what you're consuming, I should say. It doesn't have to be a book. It could be a podcast. It could be YouTube, whatever. But I think that's one of the ways to get out of that rut, that negative headspace. Do you think there's any other ways or I don't want to say tactics? Like if somebody's listening right now and they're like, man, I feel like that too for like the last year. But I just don't know how to get out of it. Like I feel like I'm stuck in it. You have any advice for for those people?
Three things. What are you consuming? Yeah. So, like, what are you listening to? What kind of music are you listening to? What books are you reading? Literally, what are you watching as you binge watch before you go to bed at night? What's the last thing that you do before you go to bed? Are you just doom scrolling, nothing valuable? So that, who were you hanging out with? I don't care if it's your family or like who you think is your best friends or like your job. What kind of people are you working with? What kind of an atmosphere are they creating? Because I agree with you, Ben. And one of the things that I heard is you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, even if that's your adult kids. Like, who is that you're spending your most time with? You will become the average of their fitness, their finances. You will be the average of their faith and what they believe in, the average of, how you take care of yourself or your mindset moving forward, your growth. You'll be the average of those 5 people you spend your most time with at work, your vocabulary will be the same as theirs. And then the third thing is the Bible. That is, I don't care if you open the Bible app on your phone, if you don't even have one in your hand, like if you don't have the paper one in your hand, listen to a podcast. There's plenty of people that read the Bible online. I'm one of them. But those 3 things you have to realize about yourself. That's the only way you're going to change anything. There is nothing else. There's nothing else. There's the Lord. He's the one that created you. I went this way. The people that you're choosing to spend your time with, and then the things that you're choosing to like put into your mind or your time. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah,
I totally agree with you. And then
totally
one
agree.
of
I think I'd stack journaling on there too. I think journaling, I think sometimes we get like separated from who we are. Like we almost like for like a relationship with yourself, right? And maybe like internally you go this way, but then like you lose sight of who you are sometimes. And I think it happens to everybody. Definitely thinks. And I think journaling, for me at least, journaling works wonders because it allows me to kind of, well, number one, it allows me to get all of the million thoughts that I have out so I can actually like listen and let the anxiety come down because I wrote it all out. So now I don't have to keep it up here.
That's right.
Right. And then
There's a
it's
couple
just,
different journals too that you can keep. So mine is when I read my Bible, and it's not like, dear God, this is that's not it. Some people are like, well, I don't journal because I don't know what to do, or I don't know what to write down, or what's the method? There is none. That's the great thing about journaling. I had a friend once who they're still my friend, but they said they have 2 journals. One of them is all of their like thoughts and wishes and dreams and prayers for like the present and the future, other people, other like just good things that they want to focus on in their life. And the other one is like the black journal, the anger and the relationships and the other people, the journal that you don't want your kids to see. So like she said she told her husband that when I die, that one gets burned. And this one, it's fine. Like just that's my good one. And you can see what came to fruition, right? But I agree with you, Ben. And I think that with all of it, what you focus on expands. That's your red car theory.
Mhm.
I think what you focus on expands. If you're constantly focusing, like when I was in my deep, dark, awful, what I kept focusing on was the deep, dark, awful. And so, of course, it got worse. Why isn't anyone calling me? Or why is my business not growing? Or why is my husband not looking at me the same way? Cool, it's because I was deep, dark, and awful. And that's all I thought about. So what you focus on has to shift. You got to want it for yourself. If you're that person that's still asking the same question after so long, well, what is it that I need to read next? Or what is it, like I still need help with this thing. The common denominator is you. And you literally need to take action. I'm telling this to myself. And I guarantee if my husband was listening right now, he coaches business owners. If he was listening right now, he'd be like, I tell you that all the time. But if you're still asking the same question and people are just smiling and nodding at you, I'm pretty sure the common denominator is that you have not taken action on any of those things.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
No change is going to come until the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of like making that change. Do you want to wait until like the pain of just swallowing in your own thing is really strong? Well, stop waiting. Just make the change.
Well, but yeah, I've through the years coaching agents, I've always said, choose your pain, choose your hard, choose your hard. This way is hard. Being broke is hard. Making phone calls and having people curse you out and hang up on you is hard. So you get the choice. It's yours to make, right? And you get to make it every single day. Even if you flunked and failed today, you wake up tomorrow and it's a brand new day and you get to choose that hard.
Do your hard, yeah,
Right?
and you can do hard things. Hard doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Like, one of the things I always ask for is, like, an open door. "Lord, show me the open door and shut the door in my face if I shouldn't walk through it." Like, the decisions that we make. And just because something is hard doesn't mean I shouldn't do it. Like, we can do hard things. It takes hard work to get out of something, out of a mindset, building a business. That's the hard thing. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. There's a difference between doing something that's really hard or doing something that you just
Well,
shouldn't.
I don't even know if it's hard, right? I think it's uncomfortable. A lot of it is just uncomfortable, right? And I go back to like the ego, and the ego loves status quo. It doesn't like change. It doesn't like new things. So, like, anytime you do something that's out of the ordinary, it's uncomfortable. I wouldn't even call getting hung up on hard. I'd say it's uncomfortable. And I think it's only uncomfortable for like 90 days. And then it's the new norm, right?
I like the way you too, because it sounds so normal and not flippant, but it just is. What a empowering, casual way that you just said that. It just is. Let's go.
Yeah, it's just, it kind of boggles my mind that people are so, because here's the thing. Okay, so when you get out of that comfort zone and you really test the boundaries and you're so uncomfortable that it almost is painful. That's when you grow the most that you'll ever grow in your entire life. That's like almost coming out of a cocoon. If you can force yourself to do something that is so uncomfortable for you for 60 or 90 days. But it's good for you. I mean, obviously healthy and good for you, but that's where you're going to experience the most growth that you'll ever experience in your entire life. So it's true. I'm a big believer that it should be a welcome thing, and it hurts. It maybe it doesn't hurt, but we just don't want to do it, right? Because we like status quo. Everybody does. It's not. And I think the important thing is that everyone knows that it's not just you who
Yeah.
feels like, "Oh my god, it's so uncomfortable." It's like everyone in the world was uncomfortable doing that thing at one point. The only difference is that they had the courage or the tenacity to push through it.
Yeah.
No one came out like, "Oh, I wanna be on the phone for 3 hours this morning dialing people I don't know and asking them, to trust me with a phone call." Like, I don't think anyone started day 1 and was like, "Oh, that's really comfortable for me. Yeah, I just go,"
Yeah.
like, very few people. Maybe there's
Yeah.
my ISA. No, actually, my ISA, Mustafa. I call him a freak of nature because he'll talk to, like, I don't know, 300 people in a week, and that's fun for him. And I think that's not fun at all. It sounds terrible to me. Like, I do it because I want the result. I don't do it because it's fun to me. He's like one of the only people I've ever met in my life that was like, "No, I love it. It's fun." It's not fun for anybody. Like, you
Good
just
for
gotta,
him.
and you like, you gotta choose. Do you really want it? If you really want it, then you gotta be uncomfortable. Let me ask you this. If we stripped away your title, your business, your title, everything else, who are you at your core?
I am a wife and a mom of three, and a believer that if I
Yeah, but those are still titles. No titles.
I'm thinking out loud. I've learned that I'm an external processor. One of my teammates told me that recently. And I believe that if all I had to do every day was talk to God write about it, get the questions out, the things that I wasn't really sure about, and then went out into the world and was this like authentic, transparent person who I think what I genuinely want to do in life is educate other people about whatever the thing is that I relate to them about and empower them to know the incredible human that they were created to be. And by action of my own, show them how awesome life is if you just go and do the thing that is like so igniting in your heart. I would do that all day long.
I love that.
Yeah.
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 So
So I
you're a
do that at home.
you're you're a self-actualizer.
I think so. Yeah.
I
I
think I
think
made
so.
that word up. I don't know if that's a
And then
word.
the avenue that I have right now, the vessel for that, if you will, is this industry home inspection. And I think that's pretty cool because I'm a very technical person. Like I care about all the details. And that's good because someone needs to care about all the details, right? God cares about all the details. So if I go out there and like passionately pursue the thing that I'm supposed to do that day, and if I'm a vessel through this business that I have, or if I'm a vessel through volunteering at school or whatever it is that I have on the agenda for that day, if I can do that, that's who I am at my core. I just want to I just want to bring in the knowledge and the joy and like empower other people to have the guts to be that person that they know they are inside.
Yeah, I love that. I love that because I'm kind of similar in that way too. Like
You are.
I love teaching and elevating people. It's my jam.
Yeah, you're good.
It's where I really feel like I'm actually doing something useful to the world.
It's true.
All right, last question. Your kids, I mentioned earlier, I told my daughter, master these three things and it'll make life a lot easier for you. Three things to tell your kids, and only three things to make sure that they have a happier life. They have an easier path maybe than you did. What are those three things?
Read your Bible because in any situation you'll ever have in life, it's literally the instruction manual for what you're supposed to do. Be kind to other people. It's the golden rule. Like treat people how you want to be treated. So if your sister's crying on the floor, I don't care if it was your fault. Just love her. Just be kind. And like don't like the be kind is also like don't judge anyone else. Who are you to judge anyone? You have no idea what happened to them that morning when before they came to school. Like don't judge. Love. Be kind. Just be kind. And the third thing, you can do anything. You can do anything you want to do in life. Ask good questions, be a great listener, and you can do absolutely anything that is like welling up in your heart to go do. You have to try it. Just go try it. If you don't like it, you don't have to do it. Do something else. But you can absolutely do anything if you learn to ask good questions and be a great listener.
Yeah, I love it. It's good stuff. While we were talking about that last night, I was watching this movie about Navy SEALs based on a true story, and I was watching, and they had like real footage of the stuff that these guys go through, and I thought it was amazing, like how far you can actually push your body with your mind. It's
Mm.
insane. Like these Navy SEAL guys, like, it's like 54 weeks of just pure hell. And it's not the body at all. It's the mind, right? And the heart too, for that matter. Probably more heart than anything.
It comes from.
It's amazing that I think that like because those guys, I mean, they 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 really push it to the limit, and I feel like everyone could maybe learn something from them, from that story, from seeing like a SEAL journey. I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool.
Well, I do think it is, and there's truth in that, Ben, because people say like mind over matter and all these like flippant sayings, but it's true. It is. It really is. And we say I can't get motivated. No, it's not motivation. It's discipline.
Yeah. Well,
Motivation.
that was one of the three things that I told my daughter was, learn the difference between motivation. Motivation fades. Motivation is temporary. Discipline is so learn how to do the things that you don't want to do right now and how to force yourself like because she just turned 14, right? So if you learn at 13 how to really get yourself to push the boundaries and do things you don't want to do and start getting in the habit of the self-discipline, life is going to be so much easier.
Good.
So much easier.
That's good.
Don't try and learn it at 25, learn it now.
46.
Yeah.
No,
Right.
My kids are only 11, 8, and 4, and I think as they get older, those are some of the things that I pick up from other parents to be able to teach them as they're, like, asking these better questions is we haven't talked about motivation and discipline a whole lot. Like, it's brush your teeth, get dressed, that kinda
Yeah.
stuff, but I love that as they're turning into these young adults. 14 is that's a legit, what, 7th, 8th grade, that's a turning point in their lives where they're just sponges for that next thing, and I'm gonna keep that in the back of my back pocket for my kiddos as they grow, is to teach them about discipline rather than motivation, rather than the feeling. Just take action regularly. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, well, my daughter thinks I'm a nutcase, like, every time like, if I take her to the movie, we're walking out, I'll be like, "Hey, what was the life lesson in the movie?" Like, it's like everything's a life lesson.
It's fun.
She'll be telling me, like, about something, a fight with her friends or something. I'll be like, "Well, what'd you learn from that? How could you do it differently next time?" She's like, "Leave me alone." But anyway, so if somebody wants to get in contact with you for inspection in Metro Detroit, how do they get in contact with you?
We are on all social medias as Elevate Inspection Group. Our website is elevatemichigan.com, and our phone number is 5.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I enjoyed it today. It was fun.
That was fun. Thank you so much. It was incredible.